She never asked for thanks, just handed him a warm meal every week. For years, the homeless man waited on the same corner, and she never missed a visit. No one knew his story. No one knew hers. But on her wedding day, 12 Marines in full dress uniform walked in. What happened next left the entire room in stunned silence. For nearly 5 years, Emily stopped at the same corner every Thursday with a warm meal in hand. Rain or shine, she never failed to bring food and a kind smile to the quiet homeless man who sat there. His name was Joe. He rarely spoke, but always thanked her with a nod and eyes that said more than words ever could. Emily never asked about his past. She simply gave, not out of pity, but from a place of deep compassion. Her friends often questioned why she kept doing it, but to her, kindness didn't need a reason. She never expected anything in return. On the day of her wedding, Emily was radiant, surrounded by family and friends. The ceremony was beautiful, and the reception buzzed with laughter and celebration. But just as the couple was about to cut the cake, the doors to the venue opened and in walked 12 U.S. Marines in full dress uniform. The room fell silent. Guests turned, confused and curious. Emily froze, her eyes wide with disbelief. Leading the formation was Joe, clean-shaven and standing tall, his medals shining on his chest. Joe stepped forward and saluted. "Ma'am," he said, his voice firm but emotional, "for years, you served me with kindness when no one else did. Today, we serve you." The Marines presented Emily with a folded flag and a plaque of appreciation. Turns out, Joe had once been a decorated Marine himself, lost in life until her simple acts of kindness reminded him who he was. Tears flowed freely as guests rose to their feet in applause. That day, Emily's kindness was returned not with words, but with honor. It was the wedding surprise she never expected, and one she'd never forget. For years, Jessica walked the same downtown route on her way home from work. And every Friday, without fail, she stopped by a corner bakery, picked up an extra meal, and handed it to the quiet homeless man who sat by the alley. His name was Ray. He never asked for anything, and she never asked questions. Their exchange was always brief, just a smile, a thank you, and a warm meal. Over time, it became more than a routine, it was a silent friendship, built on respect and compassion. Jessica didn't see a beggar, she saw a human being. Years passed, and Jessica's life moved on. She got engaged, planned a small wedding, and invited only close friends and family. The ceremony was perfect, and the reception was simple but joyful. Just as the couple took to the floor for their first dance, the doors to the hall opened. Everyone turned. In walked a man in a crisp suit, holding a small wooden box. Jessica gasped. It was Ray, clean, confident, and standing tall. He approached the couple and quietly said, "You may not remember every meal you gave, but I do. You fed me through my darkest days. Because of you, I found my way back." Inside the box was a handcrafted keepsake, a carving of 2 hands reaching out to one another, with her name and the words, "One act of kindness can change a life." Tears welled up in Jessica's eyes. The crowd stood in awe, witnessing the ripple effect of compassion. That night, a quiet man who once lived on the street gave the bride the most heartfelt tribute of all. And for Jessica, it was a reminder that the smallest kindness can echo louder than 1,000 words. Every Saturday morning, Lily carried 2 coffee cups, one for herself, and one for the man who sat on the same bench outside the library. His clothes were worn, his face weathered, but his eyes were kind. He never asked for anything, yet Lily always brought him coffee and a sandwich. She didn't know his name, only that he liked his coffee black and always said thank you. Their conversations were brief, sometimes just a nod or a few words about the weather. Still, Lily showed up, week after week, for nearly 3 years. When she got engaged, life became a whirlwind of planning and celebration. The man on the bench disappeared for a while, and she often wondered where he went. But she never imagined she'd see him again, especially not on her wedding day. As the reception buzzed with joy, the DJ suddenly went silent. The room turned as the doors opened and in walked 10 men in military dress uniforms. Leading them was the man from the bench. Clean-shaven, standing tall, with honor in his eyes. He stepped forward and said, "You brought me dignity when I felt invisible. You reminded me I still mattered. Because of your kindness, I got clean, reconnected with my unit, and found my way back." The room fell into stunned silence as he presented her with a shadow box containing a folded flag, military coins, and a note, "You saved me. Now let me honor you." Lily's eyes filled with tears. She had never expected recognition, but in that moment, she realized the true power of compassion. Her small gestures had sparked a transformation. And as the room rose in applause, Lily understood one thing clearly: her kindness had truly come full circle. For nearly 4 years, Rachel passed the same man outside the train station on her way to work. While most people looked away, she stopped. Every Monday and Thursday, she handed him a warm meal, a bottle of water, and offered a few kind words. He rarely spoke, just gave her a quiet nod of thanks. His name was Sam. That was all she knew. She didn't do it for praise. To Rachel, it was simple: if she had more than enough, she could share. Over time, she became a small but steady light in Sam's life. Unknown to her, that light reached farther than she ever imagined. When her wedding day arrived, Rachel was glowing with happiness. Family and friends surrounded her in celebration. But just as the first toast was about to be made, the venue doors opened with a low, synchronized stomp. 12 Marines in full dress uniform entered, moving with military precision. Gasps filled the room. At the center of the group stood Sam, clean-cut, composed, and unmistakable. He stepped forward and saluted. "Ma'am," he said, his voice steady, "you fed a man you didn't know. What you didn't know was that man was a fallen Marine, broken, lost, and forgotten, even by himself. You helped bring him back." Behind him, the Marines stood at attention. One stepped forward with a plaque engraved with Rachel's name and the words, "In gratitude for restoring the honor of one of our own." Tears welled up as the room stood in stunned silence. Rachel covered her mouth, overwhelmed. Her simple kindness had not only saved one man, it had moved an entire brotherhood. That day, the bride who fed a stranger became the woman who touched a battalion. For 6 years, Amanda made an extra lunch every Sunday. She didn't have much, but she always found a way to pack a meal: sandwich, fruit, something warm, just for the quiet man sitting near the church steps. He never begged. Never spoke much. Just a nod, a soft thank you, and a look of quiet gratitude. His name was Tom, and that was all Amanda knew. Still, she showed up every week, driven by something simple: no one should feel forgotten. Friends told her she was wasting her time, but Amanda didn't see it that way. To her, kindness wasn't about results. It was about doing the right thing, even if no one noticed. She never thought he'd remember her name. On her wedding day, Amanda stood beaming in her dress, surrounded by laughter, music, and the people she loved. But as she prepared for the first dance, a sudden hush fell over the room. 12 figures entered in full military dress. The crowd parted. At the front of the formation stood Tom. Gone was the tattered coat. He wore a uniform with medals that gleamed, posture straight, eyes clear. He approached Amanda, then saluted. "You gave without knowing who I was," he said. "Now it's time you knew." Tom was a decorated Marine, lost after returning home from war. Amanda's meals weren't just food, they were lifelines. Her small gestures helped him find the will to reclaim his life. The Marines presented her with a plaque and a folded flag, symbols of honor few civilians ever receive. Amanda, stunned and tearful, realized years of quiet giving had led to this unforgettable moment. Not for recognition. Not for praise. But because love, even in small acts, always finds its way back. One moment of glory. A lifetime of meaning. Nobody expected uniformed Marines to walk into Emily's wedding. Least of all Emily herself. But before that unforgettable moment, there were years of quiet, unseen kindness. Every Wednesday, for over 5 years, Emily brought a hot meal to a man named Carl who sat near her office building. He was homeless, polite, and always grateful, though he spoke very little. She never asked for his story. She didn't need to. She simply gave, week after week, rain or shine, without expecting anything in return. Her friends said she was too trusting. But Emily believed that everyone deserves dignity. So she kept bringing food, sometimes socks in winter, sometimes just a smile when she had nothing else to give. Years passed. Carl disappeared one day. She hoped he was okay, but she never saw him again. Then came her wedding. The ceremony was perfect, full of love and laughter. During the reception, just as the music quieted for the first dance, the unexpected happened. 12 U.S. Marines in full dress uniform walked in. The room went still. At their center was Carl. Or rather, Sergeant Carl Thompson, clean, composed, and unmistakable. He stepped forward, saluted Emily, and said, "When I had nothing, you gave without hesitation. You reminded me who I was. Because of your kindness, I found the strength to return to my brothers and reclaim my life." The Marines then presented her with a plaque and a folded flag, symbols of honor from one of their own. Tears streamed down Emily's face. Her simple, consistent kindness had brought a man back from the edge, and now, he and his battalion stood to honor her. That day, she didn't just marry the love of her life. She witnessed the return of another. The Marines at her wedding made sure she'd never forget it.